Dr. Hoffman. Um, so I've been teaching whatever UNT decides to call 3550 each semester uh, for I don't know 4 or 5 years now. So, um, but yeah, we'll give it a little bit longer for people to join. I'll kind of wait on Kieran's advice for when I should actually start.
Yeah. Also, welcome. Hey, Syed, long time no see.
Hey, hi.
I'm glad to hear that you're not dead. It means a lot.
No, I figured, okay, I think I'll just see over like what Dr. Hoffman is teaching us today for Defcon, and I'm looking forward to add myself to Defcon. I don't know when, but let's see and connect and more become aware of things around.
Yeah. Also, Dr. Hoffman, you have Cry Dog here to thank for the wonderful poster.
Yeah, that was awesome. By the way, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well,
I think this is a good amount of people, and yeah. Hey guys, welcome to the April 7th meeting for the UNT Cyber Security Club. This will be one of the last meetings for the semester as finals are just around the corner. There's probably going to be one more, if not possibly two, but it's probably just going to be one more meeting that's going to be official for the end of the semester. Thank you all for just sticking by and going through the online shenanigans that COVID has caused us to be. Hopefully, for those who can attend, the in-person club meetings will pick up in the fall. But I do want to try to aim towards this organization being a hybrid approach where we can stream our in-person meetings to Discord or some other streaming service while we present, leaving a online option available for those who can't attend. So that's all that I have to say, and yeah, take it away, Dr. Hoffman.
all right. Have you started the recording?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. So, can you guys see my screen all right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Excellent. So, basically, tonight's talk is about about a little bit about Defcon, mostly about an event that I have been participating in for many years now. Um, that's called Packet Detective, which is just a small piece of Defcon. So first off, I guess, who am I? I first and foremost, I am a family man. So my wife Natasha, puts up with me teaching in the evenings and all of my various hobbies. A lot of which revolve around cybersecurity. Um, I have 3 kids. Torsten lives in Denver, and then Elise and Blythe both live with me here at home in McKinney. Uh, so um, I've been teaching undergrad and graduate level classes for I think 7 years now. So I first started teaching at Southern Methodist University after I graduated from grad school. Had a class that I was basically acting as a TA for. One of the professors. He couldn't teach the following semester, and they asked me. Well, he actually put my name forward. Said he already know. Told him I already knew the material and whatnot. Asked if I'd be willing to teach. My first involvement with UNT. I used to come and do the white team volunteering for your CCDC events several years ago. So basically, what that for those of you that aren't familiar with CCDC, it's the Collegiate Cyber Defense Challenge. Back in the day when we were still allowed to see each other in person, the way that would work is they would do, an initial event. I guess it's still pretty much this way, but the initial event would be virtual, for qualifiers, where the each of the university's teams would, sit in a room with their own resources, accessing a virtual lab environment, and following some specific challenges. So each campus had to have a CCDC representative, basically making sure that that the people that were competing were actually students, and we're following the rules, and not trying to cheat, not using resources that had been prohibited, whatever. So essentially, all we did was sit in the room and just hang out. I brought in pizza a couple times, that kind of thing, just during the team doing qualifiers. So a couple semesters later, we got to look at trying to organize a more of a formal penetration testing class, and CCDC team class, kind of focused on, it would actually been college credit, but to help the teams develop, etc. And they never could get really, I guess, enough support to get that class off the ground. But in the process of that, they asked me if I would start teaching back then it was 4550, the undergrad level intro to computer security class, which, I had been teaching a similar class at SMU for a while. Anyway, got into that, really fell in love with the campus and the students there. It's a great place to teach. I've seen, a lot of you guys have just really strong enthusiasm. I've been the, I don't even know what you want to call it, mentor or team coach for the CCDC team and CPTC teams a handful of times. Basically, what it's been most of the time is the faculty sponsor or the adult chaperone, which a couple years ago we went to Tulsa for CCDC, and they had the full-time professor on campus had to drop last minute, and they asked if I could make it, and so I went up there with the CCDC team to the competition in Tulsa, and it was funny because when I got there was, I think one or maybe two of the students were actually older than me, but they had to have someone that was getting a paycheck from campus to put our name down on the hotel rooms and stuff. And that's essentially all I was doing at that point. So they don't want the coaches to have a lot of involvement. We can give suggestions and hints for things that can improve the team dynamic and whatnot. But and so I hope to do more of that with you guys next year, and for upcoming competitions. If you guys ever are struggling, with your team, with your team activities or whatever for one of these events, I'm more than happy to do what I can to help. I highly recommend, for those of you that are involved in the club but not involved in those competitions, try to get involved. For one thing, it looks amazing on a resume. I can tell you that that I've actually been to CCDC nationals a couple of times, and every one of the students in the top 3 teams comes out of that with a hiring offer that is better than they expected to graduate with. So also the competitions are a lot of fun, gives you a lot of real hands-on experience. CPTC, if you're familiar with that one, that's the cyber penetration testing competition. That one to me is even cooler, because you actually get to practice hacking and being on the penetration test side. And then the Cyber Force competition is another one that I left off of there, where I know UNT has traveled to Sandia Labs in New Mexico in the past, and gotten to compete at that level. And all of them are great for your networking, your social networking skills, meeting people, resume padding, etc. So I really recommend that. Just showing participation in these things. Heck, if you guys are, if you guys participate in the cyber club a lot and you don't already have that on your resume, you're messing up. Add the fact that you participate in this, or if you have a role like president or whatever, definitely put that on the resume. Just because when people are going through and hiring for any kind of cyber position, it shows that you have an interest outside of just your classwork. It shows that you actually have a passion for it, and that really does mean a lot, especially entry level, when so many of the resumes look the same. It's just showing you have more on there than just your classwork and your work experience. It really does help. So I am a cyber professional. I have been in the IT and security industry since about '96. So I was actually 18 when I got started in the field. Just the early career outside of direct cybersecurity. I started working for a company called Creative Labs back in the '90s, where I did tech support and troubleshooting for different hardware. And one of the things that I learned from that was just it was amazing back then, the way you could get things to do things they weren't intended to. The true essence of hacking. So you could get that was back before people realized that you could use video cards for data crunching and password and brute forcing, etc. So just learning that through time and effort was pretty cool. My undergrad was at Oklahoma State University. I went for electrical engineering. I'm still an engineer at heart. I graduated from Oklahoma State and got a job as a defense contractor working on electro-optical systems, primarily like the camera systems that fly on the F-18 or the drones, designing and testing and maintaining those systems. But after I got in that role, I did that for a while, and there was an opportunity that the company that I worked for was paying for graduate classes, and university came to basically SMU came to my work and advertised this security engineering program. And I had really strong interest in security before that. I did as a grunt job to get through undergrad. I was a alarm system and CCTV installer and technician. I was a locksmith locksmith apprentice for a while. I just done other various jobs like that and had a pretty strong interest in security. And so when they came and advertised this program for security engineering, I was really interested, hopped on it, and from there really started my cyber career. So as I was graduating, an opening came up at that same defense contractor for a CERT analyst, computer emergency response team analyst. And because I didn't have a lot of direct industry work experience when that position came open, there was a pretty big hesitation in hiring me. They actually wanted me to start out in the security operations center, which if you get that opportunity to work in a security operations center, I highly recommend it. But they went ahead and kind of brought me in directly into the CERT team on a trial basis, and then if that didn't work out, I was supposed to just continue on the SOC team, and it ended up working out really well. during that time frame, I got to deal with a lot of major bad things happening. So I'm sure some of you guys have heard of some of the pretty major security breaches. The Heartbleed, if you're familiar with that, it was quite a while back, but that was actually an event that I led the incident response for that defense contractor, and being a big defense contractor, it was a pretty painful. It was, it hit hard, and it was one that was left people all over the globe wide open. So, but a lot of what we were doing was running down malware and tracking down phishing scams and that kind of thing. So I ended up more and more leaning towards, when I wasn't taking care of an immediate incident, I started doing research and analyzing the people that were coming after us, and trying to put some proactive efforts together to stop things from happening. So I ended up getting very involved with the cyber threat intelligence team, and got that an opening came up in that team, and they actually asked me if I would be willing to jump over. So got to learn a lot of things. There were a lot of conspiracy theories and stuff going on during that time frame that I got to learn. Some of the truth behind some of it can be really scary. It makes you kind of paranoid sometimes, but you also learn to isolate the true, just crazy conspiracy theories. And so it was a rather interesting time. After I worked there for several years, there was one of my prior coworkers actually went to work for a Fortune 50 company to start their threat hunt team. And threat hunting is a rather unique experience. It's for a SOC analyst or a CERT analyst, basically you're looking, you've got alerts set up through your different systems, your IDSs and your IPSs, and you're relying on that information to go out and find where people have breached your security, malware being caught by antivirus, those kind of things. Well, as a threat hunter, it's a little different. You're trying to look for the stuff that nobody else is finding, meaning you can't rely on the IDSs and the IPSs, because someone has to write those rules. Someone has to detect the breach that nobody else caught. So I got onto that team with a major chips and soda manufacturer, and it was actually a really great experience. Moving out of defense contract in DoD into industry was pretty eye-opening. DoD had been ahead of the game in cybersecurity for many years. They had reason to start analyzing security risks and stuff in computers before it was really thought of much outside of that. Moving into the consumer space, at the time, a lot of most major corporations really hadn't been doing much as far as computer security. Their IT guys, their regular IT teams, the same guys that were installing Office and building new laptops for new employees. Those same guys were the ones that were cleaning up viruses and whatever, which is great, but they didn't necessarily, they weren't focused on trying to prevent major security risks. So it was really neat getting to watch that industry grow. And we ended up, the collaboration at that level was pretty awesome. We were, one of the ways that we were able to find stuff ahead of the game was just by using some of the threat intelligence skills that I had developed earlier, where a lot of it wasn't what you knew yourself, but it was who you could reach out to and who you could get information from. So Got to meet a lot of really cool people across the industry during that time. I got to deal with some pretty major problems like WannaCry and the whole Eternal Blue risks. So got to see a lot of pretty major events happen. And then I went from that into what I would consider probably my dream job, and I'm sure most of you guys think the same way. I actually got hired with a consulting company as a penetration tester, and I will say that was as far as work goes, that time was the most fun and biggest learning experience of my life, of my career. I was performing active penetration tests for a really wide range of companies, anywhere from oil and gas to the banking and financial industry to food to law offices, and a pretty big range in size too. I mean, we did a lot for some of the Fortune 50 companies, but then also we were doing things for some of the pen testing that we were doing was for companies that were really small, and it was amazing to see the vast differences in resources and technology that was put into place there. Unfortunately, the company that I was working for got bought out by a large international company, and during the transition time, they weren't getting a lot of contracts signed for consulting work. And I was actually on a pretty stable platform, but I saw them lay off a couple of members on the team I was on, a couple of my teammates, and at least one of those was so far more skilled than me that made me a little nervous. And I had actually gotten an offer to join Lockheed Martin, the company I work for now, about a year before that, and I didn't even entertain it because I was enjoying my job so much. But just being afraid of kind of where that company was going, and not knowing that I had job stability, I went ahead and jumped ship and took the offer that I got at Lockheed Martin. And I was kicking myself when they made the offer, because it was a big salary jump. So one of the pieces of advice I like to give my students, and this is kind of different than what you'll hear from most other professors and whatnot, I think, but when you get your first job coming out of college, I like to tell my students, plan on keeping that job for 1 year, right? So when I graduated from undergrad, everybody was telling you that you had to work for your first company at least 3 to 5 years, because if you left too soon, then no one else was going to want to hire you. The problem with that is when you're working at a place, really all you can expect is about a 3 to maybe 5% pay increase working at a place, staying internal, unless you can find another team to work on, or get a big promotion somehow. But typically that's not the case. You're looking at about a 3% raise. When you go from one company to another, that raise is typically 10 to 15% pretty easily, right? You can expect about a 10 to 15% pay increase. But it's not all about pay. It's also about the experiences you get from working there. So if you can move from a role where after you've been there for a year, you've probably gotten to a point where you're still learning stuff, hopefully, if it's a good job, but you're probably not learning as much as you could. You're not developing as much experience as you could. So now, that being said, if you get to the end of your 1 year at that company and you're doing amazing, great things, and you've gotten a significant pay raise or promotion, and there's a lot of room for growth in that company, that doesn't mean you have to jump. But yeah, I say it's definitely worth planning on leaving the company at the end of the first year, so you can really expand your experience and jumpstart your career. So, and then lastly, primarily what this talk is supposed to be about is the work that I do with the Wall of Sheep group. So I heard one of the guys on here earlier talking about how they had just gotten volunteered for the Defcon Capture the Flag competition team. I will say, good luck with that. That's awesome, and you're really doing yourself a lot of good by volunteering and getting to know the people at that level. It's a great experience. So the group that I work for is not the group that I'm part of is not the same as the Capture the Flag group, but we've been around each other for a really long time. I definitely know some of those guys. So the group that I'm part of is called the Wall of Sheep. It's an event that is primarily based out of Defcon. It's one of the main activities at Defcon. So Defcon is for those of you that aren't aware, Defcon is a security event, a security conference held in Las Vegas every year in conjunction with the Black Hat Conference, typically very start of August. If it's live this year and if you can make it physically in person, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It is just a great experience all around. I absolutely love it. The past couple of years now, it's been, last year it was fully virtual. So it's not quite the same experience. I'm sure it's kind of like you guys in these club meetings. You would much prefer to meet in person, but this isn't too bad of an alternative. So there's still a lot you can participate in, and it's still worth it. So and it's actually easier because you don't have to worry about travel and hotels and all that stuff. So so I actually have been the packet detective team lead for several years, and I'll go into more about what that is in a minute. And then just in general, I'm just part of the main Wall of Sheep or Packet Hacking Village team. So I help kind of organize and plan for all the events that we do in that group. So actually, these are out of order. So what is the Wall of Sheep? So basically, the Packet Hacking Village got started with a couple guys, Brian Marcus or Riverside and CDocs, a couple guys that came up with this idea. They had of doing some network capture and analysis on the Defcon Open network, and basically trying to raise user awareness, because even though it's a big security conference and you would think everybody knows the basics of security, you would be really, really, really surprised about how many people that are there just don't. Either don't, there's definitely, you can't learn all aspects of things, so it's not surprising that there are a lot of people that don't understand some of the basic security concepts, but there are also a lot of people there that they're just getting started, or they really haven't had a lot of experience. So and the way Wall of Sheep goes about trying to raise awareness initially, and they still do this, but they basically have this giant projector, and you can kind of see in this screenshot here, you can see just like this projector screen that displays is it shows a service name, or a username, a partial password, and some other details like MAC address, etc. So it basically what they do is they are performing constant network analysis on the open Defcon network, which is the presumably the most hostile computer network in the world. Basically everybody knows that it's an open network full of hackers, and so it's a place to just go and see what you can learn, see what you can do. Well, people still connect to this network, and do things like check their work email. So I can tell you in the past, organizations like the FBI and other major companies, people would log into their email accounts or their work accounts, and they were using clear text protocols. So basically what that means is that anybody that was connected to the same network at the same time can read their clear text logins. So the FBI was one example. People would, guys from the FBI would be at this security conference in their plain clothes, trying to hide from the guys that were playing the Spot the Fed game. And they would log in on the open network to their FBI email account, and their email address and password were completely in clear text. So what Wall of Sheep would do is capture that data, and then they wouldn't post the password out there for everybody to see. What they posted was just enough of the password so that, like, if it was your account and you saw that it was stolen or saw that it had been captured, you would know it was enough of the account information that you knew that they really had it. And so, if that happened, you were asked to come to the Wall of Sheep. We would give you a T-shirt. We would then try to educate you on how to utilize a VPN, or make sure you weren't just using how to not use a hostile network to log into these areas. So that's kind of how the Packet Hacking Village group started. And I think that started at Defcon. It was either Defcon 3 or 5. I was not part of the group back then. We're up to Defcon 29 now. I guess this upcoming year will be Defcon 30. I think that's right. So no, it's this year is going to be 29. So basically, Defcon's been going on for 29 years now, and Wall of Sheep has been part of that since the early years, since like Defcon 3. The guys that started it have been involved with Defcon since the very beginning. Riverside, was one of the original goons, etc. So they've been around the group for a long time. But they started this, and then they actually started branching out and doing some other activities for Defcon, and we actually turned into a village, meaning a subgroup of activities long before everybody else was just doing a single event, and we had an entire village. We would have an entire Vegas conference space, basically, that we were hosting all of the events in there. So Wall of Sheep, I already told you what that was. Obviously that was pretty major, but it didn't require a lot of hands-on activity other than doing the network sniffing and educating people when they came up. They also host Capture the Packet, which is one of the big competitions at Defcon. It's been a black badge event for many, many, many years. In fact, I think it's only not been a black badge event 1 year since its inception. Basically, what that means is it's one of the major events, like the Capture the Flag group, where if you win that event, or if your team wins that event, then the Defcon group gives you a black badge, and that black badge means that you're allowed to come to Defcon free for forever. You don't ever have to pay to get into Defcon again. And also along with it comes some pretty big notoriety. Anybody in the industry knows what it takes to get a Defcon black badge, and so if you're looking for a job in your specialty area, that's definitely a booster. Then we started Packet Detective several years ago, and that's Packet Detective is the event that I've been leading for quite some time now. I actually am probably not going to lead it this upcoming year. I'm probably going to hand it off to one of my old coworkers and friends to actually run the event, but I will I will still participate and help. But basically, what Packet Detective is we start. It's really just a training session where we teach anybody that wants to learn the very basics of packet capture and analysis. So initially, we started with 4 protocols: FTP. Let's see. Yeah, FTP, SMTP, Telnet, and VoIP or SIP. Those are all clear text protocols. And so if you are using one of those protocols like FTP, like let's say you log into an FTP server on a network, well, the authentication process for that is clear text. So same thing with SMTP for email. So if you log in to an SMTP email account, anybody that is on that network can potentially be listening in and grab your login credentials. Well, you guys in Security Club probably all realize the dangers of that in itself, but one of the other big dangers that we like to preach in security is the reuse of passwords and accounts. So Mr. FBI guy goes to log into his FBI email using his FBI credentials and leaks his username and password. If this was today, we all have to take cyber security awareness training with our jobs and stuff. So people have started to become more educated. But 10 years ago, 12 years ago, if you were using a username and password on your email, that was probably the same username and password that you used to log into your bank account. Well, now I can log into your email and check your email, and I don't even have to guess what bank account you use, because you probably use that same account to set up your bank account. And now I know your credentials for that. I know your credentials for your file sharing sites, everything else. So, so with Packet Detective, we really do just like hands-on walk people through. We present it as a game, but we actually it doesn't any skill level can do it. If you already know how to do packet analysis, then you can sit down and walk through it by yourself. But even if you've never done any kind of network analysis, we actually will sit down with you and walk you through it step by step to learn the skill. So we actually expanded that a couple years back. We realized we had been teaching the same thing, those same 4 basic protocols and whatnot, and every seat that we put out, it didn't matter if we set out 10 computers for people to participate in or 50. Every seat was filled for the entire time of the conference with people just learning those basic skills. But after people learned the skill and completed it and really got a grasp on it, they were definitely a lot of people were hungry for more. So we actually split the event into 2 different levels: Packet Detective and Packet Inspector. So Packet Inspector took over being that kind of first group, those first 4 basic protocols, and then we expanded upon that and started doing some new stuff with Packet Detective, where we tried to open up some new challenges, how to actually do network forensics, so how to rebuild packets back and that kind of thing. And so expanded upon it a little bit, added to the challenge, made it more of a game, and we it's not a competition for prizes or anything. So if you got stuck on something, we would come help you. But really, it was more just to be independent and give people more to do. So it really focused on just trying to help people out and educate them. We've never charged anything for people participating. It was just if you had paid to get into the Defcon conference, then we would teach you this stuff for free. One of the things that I love about the group is they are very willing to share their knowledge and help educate in a vast number of fields. They actually set up Village Talks is another part of the event of the Packet Detective Group, where we have experts come in and talk on a wide variety of subjects. It's actually it goes back and forth, but a lot of times it has been even more popular than some of the major like Defcon talks. We're just kind of a sub village of that. We also do workshops that are, instead of just a talk where you're listening to someone lecture and teaching you about a topic, we do workshops where we set out a bunch of laptops and bring you in and just teach a class basically. And we've gotten so like the offensive security team guys have come in and taught how to set up your own extremely customized Kali instance. We had an expert in the field that goes by the handle of Malware Unicorn. She's come out and taught some basic malware analysis a couple times, and it's stuff that you can learn within a couple hours or a half day. It's not like you have to spend semesters upon semesters learning this stuff just to get a basic handle on it. So a couple other events that they've done is the Wi-Fi sheep hunt. So they've had rogue Wi-Fi devices spread all through Defcon, and have challenged people with going out and trying to locate these devices and figure out what they're doing and how they're intercepting people's traffic. And then we also host the Wall of Sheep DJ company, which the funny thing is the head DJ there is amazing. He's a world-renowned DJ, but at the same time, he's one of our primary network gurus. That guy can do network analysis like nobody's business. But he's one of our lead DJs. So overall, it's an awesome group to work with. So we're always looking for volunteers, even if it's just to come, hang out in the village for a couple hours and hand out T-shirts or whatever. So especially if we have, if we're able to have DEF CON live this year, then I highly encourage you guys to join. And if you can come sit down and help teach someone how to do a little bit of Wireshark analysis, I'll absolutely put you to use. So why do I do it? Well, for one thing, it's DEF CON. It's Vegas, so it's a great time, great event. I know you guys probably don't recognize the last two people in this picture, but other than the much less of a beard on me in these pictures, do any of you guys recognize any of these people?
Dark Tangent and Jason E. Street.
Yep. Dark Tangent is he's the guy that started DEF CON and Black Hat. Black Hat has been purchased by an event company, but DT is very hands-on involved in our event. This was I was really shocked. I knew who he was. I had talked to him a handful of times, but he personally came up to me to thank me and stuff. Jason E. Street, the guy, he is famous for awkward hugs, and he's also famous for being an amazing penetration tester. The guy's he's just super cool all around. So the networking you get to do. So the last two people, you probably don't recognize the guy on the floor there. His name is Will Bingston. He is one of the absolute leading experts in cloud security right now. He's given the leading talk, not the keynote, not the intro talk, but the leading technical talk at Black Hat either 2 or 3 times now. So he will on occasion come and help me with Wall of Sheep stuff, with Packet Detective stuff. He's just an awesome guy all around. He's his knowledge is just so beyond anything that I can comprehend. He's a really close friend of mine. But and then the last picture, that was my daughter. I think she was 15 when I dragged her out to Vegas with me for Black Hat and DEF CON. We actually volunteered at B-Sides Las Vegas that year as well. And then she was one of the primary. So when she was 15 years old, she was one of our primary teachers of a lot of the packet detective activity. She has since, she's 19 now, she has since completely lost interest in the computer security aspect of things, which is a shame. But still, like it was a lot of fun. A lot of it was a great time for her. And up until like maybe 6 months before that Defcon, she really didn't know anything. And so so you guys, even if you are afraid your skill set is lacking, I can guarantee you that you are leagues better off than she was when she started. And when she got out there to help, it was amazing. So I tell you, it's a really fun experience. The social networking that you get to do, the connections that you get to make are just amazing. So I didn't, some other people that I could have thrown out here. Johnny Long, Johnny Long is the lead for Hackers for Charity. I've helped him with a handful of things now. And so even though I've talked to Dark Tangent and Jason E Street a handful of times and done stuff, I haven't ever worked with them directly on anything. I've had meals with them and talked to them and whatnot, but I can't really say I'm on a close personal level necessarily. But like Johnny Long definitely knows who I am. Which yes, I'm bragging a little bit. I think it's pretty cool when someone that well renowned in the industry you've actually got the opportunity to help out and interact with at that level. So Johnny Long, if you guys didn't know, he started the Google hacking database, and then he's also Hackers for Charity. So what this is all about is really, my advice to you guys is just get out there. Just so when I actually got started, I met the Wall of Sheep guys at a Hacker Halted event. They were selling various hacking tools. So this is their website. They don't actually do much of this anymore. This kind of they kind of have outsourced this since then. But on top of their learning of stuff, they used to sell a lot of products, kind of like the stuff that you would find on Hack5. HackRF is an RF hacking device, throwing star LAN taps, Ubertooth ones, some, lock picks and stuff, key fob readers, etc. Brian Riverside was actually, he was running the booth selling stuff at this Hacker Halted event, and he just kept getting completely overrun, trying to do sales and at the same time trying to answer questions. And so I just, I started talking to people and kind of, explaining, explaining what the different products were and stuff. And he said, man, he thanked me and asked me if I was interested in volunteering, helping out. And so they brought me out to Vegas with them that first time and that year. And I got to help, with Packet Detective and some other stuff. And I've just been a part of it ever since. But the hands-on experiences that you can get from Defcon and etc. are great. Black Hat, my honest opinion is, don't go to Black Hat unless someone else is paying for it for you. It's awesome, but it's expensive, and it is extremely consumer focused. When you go out to Black Hat, this is the big companies like Splunk and Raytheon and McAfee and all these companies throwing big money at booths and trying to get you to come out and get free swag and stuff. It's a lot of, there's a lot of good information there. It's a really good time, but again, it's super expensive, and just unless someone else is footing the bill for you, I would say probably not worth it. There is a scholarship program for that for students, and it's basically automatic. So if you're a student, you can look up the Black Hat Scholarship, and it drops the cost of entry way down, and then all you have to figure out is travel and hotel, etc. So there's also B-Sides Las Vegas that happens just around the same time. It kind of starts just before Black Hat and overlaps Black Hat, and then basically stops just as Defcon gets started. It's a great event as well. A lot of the really big names in the industry are very active in that. One of them, a guy named Jack Daniels, is very involved there. So it's another great place to get to know people. Locally, BFW has an event called B-Sides. It's just they kind of host it at different locations. I think it was actually hosted
Fort Worth.
And it was hosted Fort Worth, a year and a half ago, and then before that, it was hosted in Plano at one of the college campuses, and it was really good there. But it's a great event. Another great way to get to know people if you've got free time and you can volunteer, to go help out, even if it's just handing out badges or setting stuff up or whatever. Definitely, again, a great way to get to know people, and the talks and stuff there are always good. There's also the local OWASP chapter. They typically meet, somewhere in the Frisco, Plano area, and then there's other groups like Dallas Hackers. I think Dallas Hackers has started they raised their annual dues, and so it's kind of expensive if it's if it's not directly something you're interested in, but definitely, the local OWASP chapter and DFW B-Sides are local things you can participate in if you can't make it out to Vegas. So that's all I got. I actually talked way longer than I had planned. Do you guys have any questions? Is there anything you'd like to know more about?
How many times have you been to Dallas Hackers?
In the past 2 years, maybe twice. Before that, I was going almost every month for a while. But it was back in the 3-4 year time frame. It was just we kind of were rotating between different, some of the different leaders' houses. So.
Aside from Wall of Sheep, were there any other villages that you were, I guess, adamantly a part of?
Not that I'm really a part of. I'm connected pretty heavily to some of them, but because I spend most of my direct time with the Packet Hacking Village and the Wall of Sheep guys, I haven't really done any other activity with them. But I'm also connected with the Aerospace Village and the Blue Team Village and the Red Team Village. I am close personal friends with the guys that lead the Red Team Village and the Blue Team Village. So,
have you been to or have an opinion on Wild West Hackin' Fest?
I have not been there. My opinion would be absolutely go if you can. So I'm gonna try to make it this year. When is that?
June, I think. I've never been or anything. I've heard about it and watched videos of it.
They do a ton of video conferences every once in a while.
Yeah.
Same. So does Black Hills and there's one more. So
Black Hills is actually a company, a corporation, kind of like OffSec, the Offensive Security Team. But yeah, I mean, they host a lot of like virtual training events and stuff that's awesome. They're but they're as a company they're pretty neat too. They're very supportive of like their employees, posting how-to videos or hosting events like this where they're teaching stuff. So they, it's awesome to see a company like that is willing to, support sharing of information at that level.
What do you think of Red Siege?
Not really familiar with it.
They're like another Black Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah.
But so they're just another cybersecurity company.
I believe they're a company. I know they do webcasts a lot.
Okay.
They have a really good series called the Pen Test Process, which is
Oh.
I recommend it.
Okay, I am familiar with that.
Yeah.
I didn't immediately recognize that was part of Red Siege. But, so yeah. So I mean, I would say, any kind of free learning resources out there like that, take advantage of it where you can. If you have the opportunity to watch those kind of free training sessions and whatnot, I highly recommend it.
Oh, a side question: Do you dabble in Hack the Box at all?
Not lately. It's one of those things that I used to, but have not recently. It's, I don't know. I should. I really love playing with stuff like that a lot, but it's hard finding time the more you get involved in stuff. So between working a full-time job and whatnot, my hobby time with things are limited. So I haven't. Hack the Box is not one I've focused on recently.
Do you recommend it to your students?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a great learning resource. And then wow, I just went blank. The VM hosting, the offensive security recently took over.
Linode or DigitalOcean or?
Yeah, no, it's part of the offensive security stuff now. It didn't. VulnHub.
The Proving Grounds.
Yeah, the Proving Grounds. So it used to be VulnHub. I haven't hardly touched it since offensive security took over management of it. But I can say that's some excellent resources as well. So, you can set up your own virtual environment and play around with that, and learn various things. And the other benefit is if you get stuck on something, so many people have done walkthroughs and how-tos, that even if you get stuck, you can typically find a resource to help you work through it. So that's the Proving Grounds. It used to be called VulnHub.
Yeah, I like how they lock. There's like a hour and a half limit before you can look at the write-up.
Yep.
And what's your opinion of OffSec certs?
They are very well recognized. The OSCP is so. When you talk to people in the industry, the OffSec certs definitely are better received than most of the others. So, there's like basically in industry, like any of the certs that you can get will help you to get a job, to get in the door. So like your CEH or whatever, your Security Plus, all of that stuff is definitely beneficial in that, you can put it on your resume, it gets past the hiring bots, and whatnot. But if you go into an interview touting, oh yeah, I got my Security Plus and this cert and that cert, in general, certs aren't very well received. I will say that the offensive security certs, though, because we know what it takes to get those, the amount of effort and whatnot, especially with that 24-hour practical exam. It is very well recognized and very, very well received. So yeah, if you have the time and dedication to kick out your OSCP, I would say that's excellent.
Yeah, I'm taking it this summer. I'm registering this month actually for it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Don't start it before finals.
Oh, I know. I know. I know. Did you attend Cactus Con?
No.
They had a raffle at Cactus Con, and they were giving away OSCPs, and I was lucky enough to get one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, guys, so my email address is just Mark Hoffman at, I guess it's Mark dot. Wait, does my UNT address have the D in it? I got to double check. Yeah, it's mark.hoffman at unt.edu. So if you have questions or whatever, feel free to reach out. And if you haven't already taken one of my classes, I really look forward to seeing you in the future. I try to kind of imbue my classes with some of my industry experience and don't just make it about book learning and whatnot. I also try to keep the course load reasonable because I know some of your other courses, they have you doing so much homework and whatnot that it's just hard to do that and everything else. So I really look forward to seeing you guys in my classes in the future, or if you guys participate in CCDC or CPTC or Cyberforce or any of those other competitions, I'm more than happy to lend a hand where I can. And I did offer to Karen that here in one of your upcoming meetings, if you guys are interested in kind of a practical walkthrough on stuff, there's a handful of things that I could do with that. I can teach you guys how to set up a pwn mail server, or how to do some basic packet capture and analysis. Though I'm sure most of you guys are probably beyond that. Just whatever. I'm happy to do that as more of a kind of a fun learning experience for those that want to participate. So I look forward to seeing you all again here in the near future.
I would like that a lot. The practical, that would be great.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Hoffman.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, if that's all that you have for your stream deck, Dr. Hoffman, that's basically all that I have for this meeting. So thank you everybody for joining, and thank you, Dr. Hoffman, again for presenting.
Sure thing. And if you have this, if there's a way that you can pull this down, I'll happily put it up on Canvas too, and just try to share it with more people, try and get more knowledge of the club out there.
I am recording right now. I'll finish getting the video done, and then I'll be posting it to YouTube.
All right, sweet. Yeah, send me the link when you're done, and I'll post it on Canvas.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.